3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, every single person should have their notebook open. You should be writing, of course, week 12 at the top. Friendly reminder, you do have a vocab quiz on 1 through 20, even though I think there's only like 2 more, isn't there? So you do have vocab on Monday. We're doing a primary source. On Tuesday, we're doing another vocab quiz just to get you some points. And then finally on Wednesday, you do have a test. This is a low-key week for work, so lean into it. Get it done early, especially if you're Halloween people. We're not the same because we have 0 Halloween plans this weekend. We may put Henry in a little pumpkin costume because we have one. It's from last year. We're just going to reuse it. And I think we're going to go to brunch. Halloween! That's all we got. So if you have big Halloween plans, I would knock this out on Saturday. Yes? Be an adult. Plan accordingly. Get it done early. And just enjoy your life. Yeah? So if you don't have much going on tomorrow, I would knock it out. Especially if you have big plans. If you have 0 plans like your girl, I'll do it Sunday. Because I'll be sitting on the couch Sunday doing my usual stuff. So please make sure you're planning accordingly. Please make sure you're being responsible. Halloween is a children's holiday.
No, it's not.
Yes, it
is.
It's a children's holiday.
That's disrespectful to my mom.
Be responsible. Here we go. So, title, first major part is going to be Industrialization Spreads. It's definitely a children's holiday.
No, it's not. Why doesn't
And what are you being for Halloween, Brady?
That's a great question. I don't know yet.
You haven't figured it out?
No, but I'm going trick or treating.
By like with friends your age or with
like
little
20
kids?
people. Like 20 people.
Oh God.
It's gonna be fun.
It's the worst.
Okay, maybe.
Max, I'm right there with you. Here we go. Okay, so industrialization spreads. First thing you need to write, industrialization starts in Britain. Ladies and gentlemen, you just need to know that, live it, all that stuff. Who can briefly summarize why industrialization starts in England? John?
Because of all the coal fields and the iron ore fields.
There you go, and they also have government support. In which ways do we know that England has the government support for it?
Because the king is wanting to do it to, I don't know.
It's one thing to say that the king wants it to do it, but it's another thing when the king is spending lots and lots of money building railroads, ladies and gentlemen. Railroads, and they're also going to use a canal system in order to facilitate it. So that's what we mean by government support. Countries like Poland have no railways. So is there government support for industrialization? There's only 2 railways in Spain. Is there a ton of government support for it? Here in the United States, we have railways booming, and eventually we'll have the transcontinental at some point this week. That is what we're seeing by government support. That is a huge component of it. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we do know that industrialization starts in England for all the aforementioned terms. We are starting to see the need for 3 aspects. Capitalism, write this down, is based on 3 aspects. So the new economic system that is going to become very popular with the industrial age is capitalism. Huh? No. It's part of capitalism. So capitalism, sorry, that was unclear, and that is a very fair point, Dawson. Capitalism becomes the new economic system during industrial age. What?
Does that have 3 aspects?
No, capitalism does have 3 aspects, but I haven't gotten there yet. Okay, so capitalism becomes the new economic system that is both popular in Europe and in the Americas. Remember, it's part of our whole thing. Okay, so capitalism requires 3 things. Natural resources, capital, and water transportation. Okay, capital. Capital is going to mean 2 different, it means a couple of different things. So write capital, it means 3 things. When we say capital, it means money to start a business. Okay, so when we say capital, depending on the situation, it refers to 3 different things. A, the money to start a business. Okay, 2, the tools required to make the item. Parentheses, steam engines, power looms, those are considered capital, okay? The actual tools you need to use, that is also known as capital. And then 3 is government support for industry, is called capital. So when we say capital, those are the 3 things we're referring to. How are you guys doing on your government exams? Yeah.
For AP Gov.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gives us like a 17-point curve every time.
No, I'm talking about the ones, the state ones. The ones you've been taking in the media center?
Oh.
I don't get those scores.
Oh, are they hard? Do you know most of them?
80% pass.
Okay, I'm just asking. Alright, so, ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about water transportation, the easiest one we're going to see is canals, parentheses, England. Okay, so when we talk about water transportation, we're talking canals. I would write Britain because they're the ones who do it the best. We're going to talk about steamships. That's what we're talking about, water transportation, getting their things moving reliably. Okay, and then we're also going to build, no, that's okay. That's okay, because when we talk about canals, here in the United States, we're going to start building canals as well, like the Erie Canal, yes, that gets built during this time, okay? So, we're going to start connecting all these water systems. Okay, and natural resources is exactly what you think. Trees to build factories, iron ore to make the machines, having the actual water, because when we talk about steam engine, you need to have water. You also need to have coal in order to make the machines go. So these are types of natural resources that you need to have in order to facilitate this type of industrialization. Okay, so you do need to know that the French, so your major countries that are going to industrialize, it goes from England to France to Germany to the US. Okay? However, you're going to put a star. You should put a star next to England because they are going to be obviously the most powerful. You need to put a star next to France because they're going to be the second most powerful. And then United States. So those are your top 3. What? Germany is going to kind of fall off because they're going to have some issues. We're going to talk about each country individually here in a second, and it'll make sense why these things are happening. So the 3 most powerful countries are England, France, and the United States. Okay? England, France, and the United States are your 3 most powerful countries. Once the United States really pulls their shit together and gets going, they are going to be competing directly with England, and France is going to fall behind. Why does the United States become one of the big powerhouses?
We stole the stuff from England.
Well, we do steal stuff from England. Well, someone smuggles it out, and we welcome them with open arms. It's because we're huge. We're competing against an island nation, very limited borders, and we're competing against a small European country. We're humongous, and we have tons and tons of natural resources within our country, which means our government can regulate the movement of those things very quickly without dealing with other people, which is why we're going to rise. All right, France is your next subheading here. So France industrializes starting quickly. So England goes first, then France goes second. Okay, so it is going to industrialize or start the process quickly. But it is a slow start. What major event is happening in France when industrialization is really starting to take off, Ben? French Revolution. The chaos of the Jacobians will slow it down. So, the French are the first ones to pick it up. Louis XVI is actually very much pro-industrialization. However, when his head's in a basket, his plans kind of end. Okay, so during the Jacobians are too busy killing everyone to really focus on industrialization. So who is going to champion it? Napoleon. You need to acknowledge that. Napoleon is going to champion industrialization. He is going to be conquering territories in Europe that benefit France's industrialization during the Napoleonic Wars. Okay, so some of the territories he goes after is after just vain. Some of it he goes for economic reasons, which would support the industrialization. Okay? So, cons. So, those are all the things the French are doing. These are the drawbacks of the French. Okay? The French are going to have a very limited industrialization because they have a very small population. Why is their population all of a sudden so damn small? Yeah, they're going to kill everyone. Isn't that funny? That's funny. That's funny.
You don't like Halloween.
No, I don't. I really don't. I don't even have I have a stupid Halloween shirt that says it's like the Grim Reaper that says I'm here for the wine. No, it says I'm here for the wine. That's
Okay.
really not the most appropriate shirt to be wearing to a high school.
Just put a jacket over it when you walk in.
Oh my God, no! First of all, I do not keep secrets with high schoolers. You are.
Well, no, keep
No.
a secret with administration. You can show around. What about just period two?
No. It's literally a Grim Reaper that says I'm here for the wine. So, or it says chill, I'm here for the wine. So it's fine. Anyway, so the French have a small population because they killed everyone. Okay, and B, the French Revolution. Ugh. Okay, so Germany is your next heading. Germany is going to slow to even start industrialization. Okay, the reason is because they're dealing with unification. Okay, so they're just slow to start it. They also don't have a ton of natural resources in Germany, so keep that in mind. These are going to be reasons why Germany wants to unify and kind of pull together and create what we will call the First Reich. Because we know there's a Third Reich. Who's the Third Reich?
Hitler?
Hitler, yeah. So we're trying to build the First Reich here. Isn't it nice when we start seeing a plan come together? I mean, not like the Hitler plan. I mean, it's obviously not the ideal plan, but you see, you do know things. All right. Sounded terrible.
Yeah, isn't it nice to see Hitler come to power?
Well, no, because the more.
You don't need to explain yourself.
I do need to explain myself. I am not saying we should be celebrating Hitler's coming to plan, but you do know a couple things about Hitler, which will allow you to kind of make connections to prior history, which will make it easier to learn. Isn't that nice? It is Otto Von Bismarck, and you absolutely need to know that name. He's the dude who unifies Germany, and he's the guy who really pushes Germany to reach industrialization. Otto Von Bismarck. His quote is blood and iron. God, what a guy. What a guy.
How do you spell Reich?
R-I-E-C-H. Right. Okay, so his big quote is blood and iron, and you need to know that because it's going to come back. Because this guy's around until World War I. So we're going to see his name a bunch of times, so you might as well just memorize it. Otto von Bismarck, his big thing is blood and iron. Blood is killing other Germans in order to unify Germany. Iron is obviously industrialization. He believed that was the solution to solving Germany's territory problems. Yeah, he's a great guy. Great guy. Anyway, okay, so big things you do need to know about Germany. Once it does get unified in 1871, it is all about steel production. Okay, steel and coal is really their thing, and exporting it out. That's why Germany has so many mines, which is why Hitler is stashing so many things in the mines of Germany, yes. Okay, there's tons of art. Every once in a while you hear a story of some guy in some mine went down a weird shaft and all of a sudden there's priceless art there. No, you don't hear those stories? Okay, what do you got?
Recently, they found a bunker. They found stuff.
Yeah, tons of stuff, priceless pieces of art. Alright, here we go. U.S. is your next heading, subheading. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we get on industrialization real quick. We begin industrializing real quick. Okay, so after England, we're the fastest to do it. Why? We have the room and we have the natural materials. It is really important that you understand that. Is that we have wide open spaces that we can start building these massive factories. Okay? We have the natural resources in our countries. We're not dealing with other countries. We are dealing with ourselves. Okay? So, you also need to know that we have tons of human capital or people to work in these factories. So, the Industrial Revolution comes at the perfect time. We're just starting our nation, and now there's an opportunity for us to start booming economically. Obviously, people are happier with money in their pockets. So that is really one of the major reasons of why the United States was successful early on, is because we immediately started making money with the industrial age. Okay, so you need to know immigrants and migrants are the two biggest reasons. So people are fleeing Europe. People are fleeing Europe because of poverty and war. Which is why if you go to Ohio, they have a huge German population. Because during this time with Germany unifying, a lot of Germans are going to flee to the United States. So if you are anyone here German descent? There you go. Your
My
family.
dad's from Ohio.
There you go. That's why. It's because the territory, the hills in Ohio are very similar to that of Germany. The temperature is very similar, which is why Ohio has excellent beer. My best friend lives in Ohio. I love Ohio. Anyway, with that being said, if you are of German descent, you are probably coming during this time by the early 1900s, or you're coming right before World War II. So if you're of German descent, that's when you're moving here. Immigrants are coming from outside the country. Migrants are people living in rural areas, moving cities.
Those are the biggest reasons for this shit. Or like,
For us to boom, because we have plenty of people to work in the factories. In France, they're struggling with people to go because they don't have enough people, because they, executed 100,000 people, and they just have a very limited population, and no one's moving to France because France is chaotic. With that being said, people are now moving to the United States in a major way. Okay, Russia. Now, Russia is going to be a reoccurring issue. They are going to do some things really well, and then they are just going to light it on fire and blow it up and go back to the beginning. Like multiple times. Okay, Russia. You do need to know that it is going to be the Russian government that is going to push industrialization. Ladies and gentlemen, that's unique. Can we agree? So, if I have not said that about England, France, Germany, United States, who's doing it in those countries? Well, people run governments too. It's called
Citizens.
private companies. Private companies are facilitating it everywhere except two places. Russia, Japan. Those two countries, and when we get to Japan, I'll remind you, it is going to be state-sponsored, which means the government is pushing all these initiatives. Okay? The reason is because Russia wants to modernize because they're so far behind Europe. The Russians are significantly behind militarily, economically, politically. Everyone kind of is like looking at Russia and being like, what is happening up there? So the Russians know this and they're trying to fix it. So they are trying to do government-sponsored industrialization to catch up with the rest of the world. The biggest thing they're going to do is focus on the railroads. Actually, I do want you to know, for the government-sponsored, I want you to know the WITT system. WITTE. That's what the government-sponsored program is to industrialize. It's called the WITT system. And one of the biggest aspects of the WITT system is to build railroads. So, the crowning achievement of the Russians is the Trans-Siberian Railway. And you need to know this. Okay, the Trans-Siberian Railway is going to be the longest railroad in the world. And honestly, it is my bucket list. I am going to ride that railway because it can access remote parts of the world that can only be accessed by the train. Like you can see waterfalls and all like this nature and stuff from the train that you cannot access by road. It's too far away from like civilization and stuff. And the railway cars are like the old school luxury ones, not like the shitty dirty ones you sit on in like Amtrak and on like the subway and stuff. Like they are like luxurious. And it takes 2 weeks to go from Moscow to the Pacific Ocean. You sleep in the train. It stops for a couple hours in different cities and stuff. And like you can get off the train and go like check out the towns and stuff like that. But yeah, no, you sleep on the train. It's a luxury sleeper. Totally Google it. It is amazing. And it's only like $5,000, which is a lot of money, don't get me wrong. But then you're like staying in like a 5-star accommodation train. Like it's like the coolest thing. And like all your meals are catered. It's a bucket list. My husband says he will absolutely not go. So I'm going to have to find a buddy. But that's okay. All right. So, the Trans-Siberian Railroad, you need to know, it allows Russia to trade with China and Japan much more efficiently. So, it's a huge deal. Fun fact, the Russians do it first. They beat us to building our transcontinental. Okay. The Russians are going to have some coal and steel production. Some, okay? You're not going to see massive industrial production until we get to the Soviets, which is not until 1917. They start the revolution. 1918 they win. 1920 is really when things get going. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, Russia is still agrarian. They're still farming. That is how they're making their money. They're growing wheat because Europe is buying a ton of wheat right now because of the Napoleonic Wars. So, with that being said, Russia's economy, they're trying to industrialize, but it is not an industrialized economy. They're farming. That is pretty much the only thing they're doing at this point. All right, skip space. Japan! Ladies and gentlemen, this is a weird one. Put a star next to it. Japan is super unique. Okay, here we go. Japan will open its doors in 1871. I didn't say that with confidence, did I? Let me check something real quick. Commodore Matthew Perry, does anyone have their note? Actually, it's right here. Commodore Matthew Perry. 1854, my bad. See? Good thing I checked. Okay, 1854. Commodore Matthew Perry. Commodore Matthew Perry will force open Japan. Matthew Perry is from where?
England?
U.S., 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 U.S. And we hold Japan hostage with our naval steam gunships. U.S., U.S., U.S. Isn't that fun?
I don't know.
He literally pulled into the port of Tokyo with his massive gunship and said, open. And they were like, nah, bruh. And we were like, okay. So we shot a mountain with our gunship. And they were like, damn. And we're like, open now. And they're like, yes. And it happened. That's pretty much how it went down. It's pretty much verbatim if you look at the transcript. It's pretty much exactly how it went down. Okay. Commodore Matthew Perry, 1854, forces Japan to open its borders. We hold them hostage with naval gunships. Go America. Okay. This needs a star next to it. This shows how behind Japan is technologically, militarily, economically. Also knowledge base, because they really had no idea there was a thing called America. And then there we show up in the most American way possible. Can we agree? Technologically, economically, militarily. Okay, so they realize, woski broski, we have to do something different. So they do the Mage Restoration. Oh, that's funny. M-E-I-J-I. Mage. That's the name of the M-E-I-J. Mage Restoration. Okay, so they do the Mage Restoration. They take power from the shoguns and they give it back to the emperor. Okay, so they take power away from the shoguns and give it back to the emperor. So who is the most powerful person in in Japan at the time? The emperor. Okay, so the emperor swears to modernize Japan. You need to know that. That's why they give the power back to the emperor. So right before they closed the doors, they took power away from the emperor and gave it to the shoguns. Remember? Okay, now the shoguns have no power. Now the emperor has all the power, and they are going to industrialize. Okay, so the Mage Restoration happens. We are now looking at a pro-technology government. Okay, so now the Japanese are trying to figure out how to industrialize and how to start competing. Guess who they lean on? Yeah, their biggest asset is the U.S. What's funny about that is that we're going to go to war because we taught them too well. That's World War II, friends. We fight the Japanese. Those are the biggest threats. We almost lost to Japan. We should have lost to Japan. But then we had an atomic bomb. And then we had a second atomic bomb. And then we win. Yeah, that's because we taught them too well. So, the United States are going to help the Japanese modernize and industrialize. Okay? Now, it is really important that you understand that the Japanese are doing this to protect their culture. I put even 2 stars next to that one. They're doing like all this modernization and industrialization to protect their culture because they've seen what European countries have done to China. Remember, when Japan closed its doors, who is the most powerful Asian country? China. Now, China's been occupied by the British. Okay, we haven't really talked about that yet because we're going a little bit sideways. But the Chinese have been completely dismantled by the British. Okay, with the Opium War. We're going to see that here shortly. So the Japanese are looking at China and being like, oh shit, we don't want that to happen to us. So now they're trying to industrialize really, really quickly, and their justification is to protect their culture. Okay, so Japanese are industrializing. They're using U.S. as an asset. They're doing it to protect their culture. And you need to underline it, put it in a box or something. They are the only Asian country to industrialize pre-1950. Damn! They're the only country in Asia that industrializes until 1950. China does not industrialize until 1952. Damn! They worked real hard to get where they are. Can we agree? That's not that long ago. Look at them now. The United States is considering the biggest threat, which is why all the Europeans at the G20 summit are really pissed. Okay, because we're focusing more on China, and they're like, hey, we need your help over here, U.S. And Biden is like, no, bruh, we're busy. Okay, so with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the Japanese are going to industrialize. They are going to be there with American assets. Okay, so they're also going to change their culture because of industrialization. They're trying to protect their culture, but they also evolve their culture. They start wearing more Western style clothing. Okay? So, they're trying to build up their economy and their military to protect themselves. Because they don't want European countries coming in and taking over. Now, is Japan going to become an imperialist country?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. It's going to wage massive atrocities. Because they're an industrialized power. Just like the United States. Are we an imperialist country?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, we are, dude. Yeah. Yes, we are. All right, to the boards. Let's go. Isn't this stuff cool?
Uh-huh. It's just the day.
It's been long.
It's only second period.
Dude, seriously. I have no plan.
I have to wake up at like 4 a.m. tomorrow. Like, I'm done with one thing. My tournament, it's in Winnipeg. Your game's at 8:30. You can be there at like 7:30.
So I'm not gonna let Henry sign up right now.
Oh, yeah.
Five is nothing. 4 sucks. 5 is nothing. I wake up. Henry woke up at 5:30 this morning.
It's okay. 5 is still early.
Here we go. On your whiteboard, please tell me what is the first country in the world to industrialize? Good. First country in the world? Elise, what country? England. What is the first Asian country to industrialize for like a long time? Like a really long time. Good, Janelle. Japan. On your whiteboard, what country will become an industrial powerhouse because they have tons and tons of natural resources? They have tons and tons and tons of people. And they have tons and tons of room to make this happen. Ellis. United States. On your whiteboard, please tell me what country is going to have kind of a slowish industrial revolution. They do industrialize. That's because A, they don't have much of a population because they killed most of their population. They also, you know, having the confined space problem. What do you got, Amelia? France. What country is going to have a very slow industrial revolution because it's going to be government sponsored and most of their economy is agricultural? And it's really not until the 1920s that they're going to really industrialize. What do you got, Tula? Russia. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what country is going to use industrialization to justify unification? Good, Macy. Germany. On your whiteboard, who is the leader of industrialization in France? Who is the leader in France? What do we got? Dawson. Napoleon. On your whiteboard, please tell me who is the industrial leader in, you can know this, in Russia. You will know this. I told you what his last name is. No. Stalin, no. Yeah, Victoria, who is it? Which? It is a system. It's named after the guy who created it. The WIT system's greatest accomplishment is what? The WIT system's write it on the damn board, Brady.
Sorry.
What is it? What do you got, Charlotte? Railroad.
That says Trans-Siberian.
On your whiteboard, please tell me who is the dude behind German industrialization? No, that's his first name, dude.
I know this.
Are you on first name basis?
Yeah, man, you just don't go hanging out with Otto. Who is it, Janelle? Bismarck. What is Bismarck's big quote to justify unification and industrialization? What do we got, Emily? Blood and iron. On your whiteboard, please tell me what is what is the name of the dude who forces Japan to realize, oh shit, we're behind?
It's
Writing it on the board, dude. I know. It is kind of funny because people didn't know that name, and I used to be like, oh my god, like Chandler. And they were like, what? And now that you people are all watching Friends, I'm glad the reference is back, but like, you people take it too far.
What?
Well, who is it, Ben? Commodore. Comrade, that's more of a Soviet thing. And he's from America. On your whiteboard, please tell me what is the... I think that's good. Let's go.
Huh? We have 2 minutes.
going to spread worldwide. Okay, that's your next heading. Industrialization spreads worldwide. We don't need to live your yawn here, Abby. Okay, so, ladies and gentlemen, European nations. This is super important. European nations will limit, and I would underline limit, their colonies' ability to industrialize. Who can raise their hand and tell me why they are stopping colonies from being able to industrialize, Natalie?
So they don't become more powerful.
So they don't have to fight them. Yeah. So it is really important that you understand they are going to allow partial industrialization.